Hi, my name is Alman Ainsworth. Today I got the great privilege of interviewing the mayor of Stonnington, Kate Hely. Kate's young, fresh, cool, entertaining, engaging, and has a very strong background in advertising and business engagement and strategy. It's refreshing leadership in council, particularly a council like Stonnington, which has so much potential to reinvigorate itself and become the icon of retail and the icon of lifestyle and entertainment that Victoria has been known for. I think you'll all agree that Kate's approach to council and approach to her community, municipality is so refreshing and timely. So I hope you enjoy this interview.
Not something that you'd plan to do, but something that has sort of organically happened and
Very fast.
very fast, yeah.
So you went from being a private citizen to having your photo on phone booths throughout Stonnington. And leaflets of your face being given out on corners and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that was very confronting because I've never had a public presence in any sort of way. I've just sort of gone about my business in life, and so seeing your face around the city that you live in and putting your face in people's letterboxes was so confronting, and definitely not something I enjoyed at all. But it was, from a marketing sense, I know that's what you need to do. I need to build that familiarity and that brand awareness of who I was and what I was about. And luckily, my husband actually took over the outdoor campaign and just found all these people's cars that were friends of ours to stick on their cars. I think we had about 10 cars that we were busily moving from one side of the Clearway to the other side of the Clearway for about 5 weeks during the campaign period, every morning and every night. So it was an intensive period.
Yes.
Definitely. Yeah.
How do you choose a photo? Of all the photos you took, choosing the one that goes in the phone booth would have been an agonizing selection.
Well, I got through my contacts in the advertising industry, I got a good photographer, and
that helps.
And so worked with them to take a few photographs just before another lockdown, so that worked out really well. And so it made it quite easy to choose which one to go with.
So you've taken this role in November. You were sworn in. Mm-hmm. Day one of the job, what does that look like? Is there a training manual that they give you?
Well, I mean, you get a little bit of guidance from, there's the Local Government Act and things like that, but also what they've started to implement now is quite an intensive induction program for all new councillors. Because obviously you're entering into a completely new environment than you've ever experienced before, and you are that voice of the community, and you have to kind of keep that. At the same time, as Stonnington Council, we have more than 40 business units. So we are working with, planning and parking and parks and all that sort of thing. But we've also got aged care, and we've got youth services, and we've got swimming pools, and we've got sports facilities, and we've got just all these incredibly diverse business units that you have to learn to understand, and you'll never know all of them and completely understand all of them, but to get an idea about what they all do and the role that they play in council was a steep learning curve.
And are you across all that detail now?
Of course not. I'll never be.
And you're cool with that?
Yes. I think one of the good attributes that I've got is I'm okay dealing with ambiguity. Yes. So I think councillors who come in who maybe have that sort of legal accounting sort of mind style where you like to understand exactly what's going on, exactly what things are happening, that's a very difficult transition. But again, coming from advertising, I'm constantly going into new businesses and not understanding, of course, what their business is about, but understanding what people want and expect from it and what their needs are, and then being able to find out how we can answer that from a business perspective. So that made that sort of journey a bit easier for me, I think.
And is that how you're approaching this job? Just getting in there, working out the problems and finding solutions as you go?
Yeah, I think that every time that you come into a new business, you always have that history of everything you've experienced before that you can start applying. So some of the things that I'm quite passionate about within council are things which when I was campaigning, I didn't realise that they were things that I really was going to gravitate towards. You know, you have a platform of the things that you think council needs to work on, and then when you walk through the veil, you discover actually a lot of that stuff they were already doing, but they just weren't telling anyone about it. And once you walk through that veil, you start understanding, well, these are the areas which I think, given my skill set, given my passion, given what I see the opportunity for this area to be, that we can start working on.
So what are those things?
So a few of the things I'm really passionate about is one is I want to implement a value for money program within council. So this is something which, say, Auckland City Council does. They're a council of about 1.5 million people, so a mega council. It's a little bit different to here, but...
How much do you have in Stonington? 120,000?
120,000, yeah. But we are excellent people.
The best 120,000 in the
country. The best 120,000.
I don't live in Stonington, by the way, so...
Come along.
Nah. You don't have any kosher restaurants in Stonington.
Okay, we'll work on that then. Yeah, so the Value for Money program is all about trying to set up an office within the CFO's group, which starts to look at how we can improve efficiencies and effectiveness in each of our business areas. So when we're looking at benefits from a council perspective, it's not just about how we're going to rip out as much money from that effort as possible. It's actually also about how we can make sure we're maximising the benefits to our community. So that's going to include social benefits, environmental ones, it's cohesion, it's about the health and well-being of our population. So it's all these things together which can help improve what our delivery is about. And I think given the very professional and well-educated group that lives in Stonnington, that's the sort of thing that they'd expect from their council for us to be delivering. It's not something that's prevalent across councils in Australia at the moment, but it's definitely something that's coming through in New Zealand. So I'm taking a bit of that Kiwi knowledge, just planting it here.
So where are you getting your inspiration from and your ideas and your fresh approaches? Like who and which cities are you looking at? And is it actually a council that you're being inspired by?
I think that it's actually about looking at, where I get inspiration for everything in life is not about one source. It's actually about just getting out and living life and experiencing things from different perspectives. So I think we can learn from other councils, we can learn from other cities. I just finished reading the plan for New York City and then went through that and went, okay, what things can I steal from there that are really exciting that we can... I think when you're a council, you can actually steal ideas. Because it's weird because you're not completely in competition with each other. So, I can say, I'm going to steal your idea, but I'll let people know it's yours. That's fine. But so it's a great advantage in a way. So, so looking through things like New York City, London, other large cities that are around, you can learn incredible things from that. But I think you can also learn incredible things from businesses, from different community groups, and just from listening to people and understanding what they want. Because another thing I'm really excited about to push through council is, well, not push through, to coordinate through council and collaborate with us all, is to really start lifting up the design expectations of Stonnington overall. So one of the things I found really frustrating once starting in council was, so around this table we would approve or reject planning permits, and we could only really look at them almost in like in a legal sense. Do they fulfil the criteria of what was required for this permit? Are they within res code? Is this acceptable or not? But you couldn't reject something just because it was really ugly.
Okay.
And I found that really hard. Coming from that architectural background, coming from, marketing communications is about presenting something beautiful for people to be part of it. And here we've got no real control or influence over what actually is the best design outcome for our city. And I found that really, really difficult. So I'm hoping that moving forward that we'll be able to build in some sense of, it might not be through a planning control, but through a celebration of this is actually what we think is a really great standard within Stonnington. This is what an amazing house in Toorak looks like. This is what an incredible townhouse in Armidale is. Really starting to celebrate what great design is, because I think at the moment that's not really understood. And I'm really concerned about how we've got lots of houses that get built on a 800 square metre block, I think it is, you don't have to have a permit. So at no stage does anyone say, look at that house and go, is that actually what the city needs? Is that actually what's going to contribute to the neighbourhood character in some way? That discussion never actually happens. And I think that's really sad, because as much as we talk about financial governance and risk governance, the discussion about design governance never really happens. And in the end, that's probably more important, because these buildings that are getting made are going to be here for hundreds of years. So it's probably the thing that we need to be strongest about governance on. One of the things I really love about Victoria, Australia, it's something that I didn't really grow up with. So it's a really important icon of what it means to live in Stonnington. And those retail strips are incredible and they're so iconic. So it's really important that we keep nurturing them, because they are the things that differentiate and make Stonnington what it is. And there are ones which are thriving, and there are ones which, you know, may need a bit of help. We've done a lot over COVID to try and support those strips as well. But you're right that there are areas that probably need more help. So in particular, you talked about Chapel Street, and Chapel Street is the spine of really what Stonnington is about, emotionally as much as economically as well. So Chapel Street's really, really important. It came up throughout my campaign period that was what people wanted to see transformation in. And I think the great thing is that will happen. I really believe that'll happen. And the area that needs the most help is probably from Toorak Road to Malvern Road strip, which is that South Yarra part. I think that's on the precipice of massive transformation, and it has to be, because it's around, if you imagine the people that are living around that area, they're generally got a high disposable income, they're often single people living at home, in apartments and what have you. That is a great catchment area for some fantastic retail. So I think there's going to be a flip and a transformation there. And the other thing that's happening is that we just released our draft budget, I think on Tuesday. And in that, we're signalling that we're intending to put a significant amount of money into the rejuvenation of Chapel Street. So that's council saying we believe in this strip, we believe in the potential of it, and we think it's very, very important. But our role in that isn't, we can't solve those problems with just fixing footpaths or talking about parking. The way that those issues are solved are really in council taking on much more of a facilitation role with the key partners in that. So that's us working with developers and working with residents and potentially fantastic anchor retailers to look at what the potential of that area can be. Because it does have this amazing opportunity to flick around, and I think that we're just on the cusp of that now.
So Stonnington has over $15 billion being spent here, some of the wealthiest suburbs, and a lot of activity here. Do you feel there's an adequate enough of office space and buildings and hotels in a municipality that's this productive?
I think, again, COVID's changed the way that we work, and I know that sounds a cliche, but it's true. And we don't want to work from home. I can't work from home with my husband because he's so loud.
Sound like my wife.
It's so loud. So, you know, I want to be able to work close to home. I don't want to have to commute for a long period of time. So I think that the idea of having office spaces closer to where you live is really important. And I don't think we have enough office spaces in Stonnington. And I think that if we were able to increase those numbers, particularly around our activity centres or those retail strips, the benefit of that, of course, is that it starts to really increase our daytime trade. So again, helps to support that retail economy during the daytime and lift up the livability of the people living here as well. And it still rolls into even an environmental message as well, because the closer we can be to where we're working from home, the better we feel, but also we can just walk there, scooter there, cycle there, catch public transport or what have you. So essentially, I think it would be great if we had more office spaces. What are the challenges of becoming mayor? And I think one of the biggest challenges that I've felt is that I think it'd be very easy to lose perspective on what really matters to the people you're trying to serve. Mm-hmm. That would just be so easy to experience, because people start giving you they talk to you funny, they say Madam Mayor, and they ask you how you're feeling, and do you like a cup of tea, and that could easily go to your head, and then you stop really understanding what the people you're serving are asking for and what they need. So I'm really conscious, therefore, to make sure that I'm seeking out that experience as much as possible. So I'm spending time and went for a rubbish truck run the other day. Very exciting. Learned so much. Oh no, I couldn't drive it. I was in the passenger seat.
Oh, the rubbish truck.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was very exciting. And then spending time with the call centre, on the front desk at council as well, just listening to what people are asking of us. We also did an incredible study recently where we sent letters randomly to, I think, 10,000 residents and asked them to submit to be part of our people's panel, and then from that we selected about 40 people who represented the full diversity of what Stonnington is, so people who own property, people who are renters, the different ages, genders, attitudes, etc. And then from that they presented to us what they wanted, the vision of Stonnington to be in 2040, and then also 6 principles that we need to hold true to ourselves if we're really representing them. So that those sorts of things that start making sure that we're in touch with the people we're really trying to serve and the businesses we're trying to serve and the aspiration that we have as a city is really exciting and important.
So I know it's only been about 7 months that you're in this job, but from what you've seen so far, and I know it might change, what do you think is important to the community of Stonnington?
Well, I just got the answer to that the other day, so that's really handy. So they want to make sure that we are preserving the history of Stonnington. So for a lot of people that means the heritage buildings and so forth, and also the fine grain retail experiences I think are part of that as well, whilst also allowing much more sensitive development. I think we're going to have pressure to develop, obviously, we're going to grow by 16.5% in the next 15 years, which for a small area is quite a lot. So those things are still important, but that's a principle that's really important to people. The other thing that comes through very strongly is a desire for us to be really careful about our environmental impact, biodiversity and so forth. And I think that really comes through strongly from people who don't usually interact with council on a day-to-day basis. So, when I talk to my young nieces and nephews, that sort of stuff's really important. And so we have to make sure that we embed that in what we're doing, because we have to build a city that can last and thrive into the future.
So how long is your term?
So a term for a councillor is 4 years and a term for a mayor is 1 year.
So your job is for 1 year?
Yeah, so every year the mayor gets elected. So we essentially all the councillors are up for the job, and they decide whether or not they want to do it, and we vote.
Wow.
Yeah.
And as mayor, what roles or authority do you carry?
Um,
What can and can you not do?
There's a lot of things that you can't do because you've got to be very sensible and well behaved at all times.
Is that hard for you?
No, I'm actually quite sensible.
That's good.
I'm a bit of a nerd, so it's all right. But it could be hard for some people, I don't know. So there's that. As mayor, my role is really, I'm a councillor first and foremost, but I chair the meetings that we have as council, and then we vote on the things that come forth. I think one of the most exciting things though of being a councillor that they should tell more people about, because then we get more people that would apply, is that you get a parking permit pass, which means that you can park in any permit-only zone anywhere in Stonnington.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the biggest perk of the whole job.
You wouldn't believe me if I told you how many parking fines I get in a week.
Well, this one would only work in Stonnington.
Oh, well, I don't live
But
here.
well, you could get one for your council if you were in that area. If you're a
Mayor,
councillor in your area.
Fines.
Become mayor. What's your number one biggest goal for your term as mayor?
I thought I got to choose 3. No?
Number one, if you can change one thing, what is your legacy you want to leave behind after your tenure as mayor of Stonnington?
The thing that I would really love to see happen is the introduction of a culture of design excellence at Stonnington. So that's within Stonnington as an organisation itself, but also us working with external partners, so architects and developers or what have you, to start lifting up what the expectations are. So I know within the planning scheme we can say no, don't do that, but there's not many things that we are doing currently to say, actually, this is what we want to shine a light on, to say this is amazing, this is incredible, and what we want to see more of.
What is that thing though? Like, is that design? Is that livability? Is that environmental? What is that?
So good design, I think, is all of those things. It's environmental, sustainable design, it's good use of materials, it's making sure that things aesthetically look wonderful, but they're designed so that the people living in them have a really good quality of life. It's making sure that you respect the vernacular of the area that you're living in as well, or that the building's been placed in. So it's a whole lot of things coming together, but without thinking about it really consciously, we can't expect to increase the standards of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
In the city of Stonnington, there's a lot of retailers that have been doing it tough for quite a while now, not just last year. As a council, what can you do to help support those businesses and help turbocharge them? But also on the same side, there's landlords that bought property or own real estate with income expectations that were there for a very long time that have simply stopped. What are we doing to help reinvigorate the retail industry, the property industry, to make investing in Stonnington cool again and people queue up to, want to own real estate here?
I think again it's that working with partners like yourself as well to talk to, because essentially I don't have all the answers, and I don't think council can have all the answers, but we've got a lot of possibility in the sort of levers that we've got and the vision that our community is telling us to start changing things that have happened before. So, for those landlords and for those retailers, you're right, things have changed. So the rules and the ways that they've operated before aren't necessarily going to work going to the future. So we need to work with them to understand how we can help lift up what Stonnington's about. Because there's no reason why it shouldn't be the most awesome place in all of Victoria and Australia and the world to have your business and to live.